Go ahead.
No,
Okay,
no,
welcome to the weekend Bucky call. This is for February 26th and 27th. And just as a word here to begin, our group is kind of small. Kelly checked in briefly with 7 inches of rain in the last 3 days in Brisbane, and John Butler reports there's been some casualties from drowning. Wow. Kelly's busy, engaged, and promises to be back on the next call. So he's well and happy. Susan has checked in, and she's traveling back east and is on airplanes visiting a friend and wasn't sure she could make it at all, but sends her very, very best. And then Anne Tam, or however you say her last name, I'm very sorry, is doing, she's in her 3-week hiatus because and I think tonight is the night of the TV program she's doing, or maybe next week, but Anne would be here. And other than that, here we are. It's our core group. It's the important people tonight. And I just want to say that we're going to be reviewing triangles again. And what I would like to do this time is, last time we ended up in chaos. I don't know if you noticed, but the call kind of exploded at the end because everybody's going, what? Well, over the last week, I had some revelation, partly from Roffers, partly from Manu, partly from Susan. And then we all got together and had a discussion. And so I've rewritten those notes and tried to alleviate the conflict and create some more clarity. And that's what we're going to do tonight. So our core group tonight is going to review triangles. And if we get done, we're going to go into spheres. It's all ready to go. And but I think we have just exactly the right people here to talk about this complicated subject and to clear the water. So Roffers, you were the first guy on the call tonight. How are you feeling? And what do you expect from tonight's call?
I'm feeling actually, I don't know how you feel actually. Well, I guess concerned that, the world is absolutely crazy. And again, how relevant Bucky is today. When you think about just 2 words that he created, weaponry and leavenry. And we are in all this mess because of weaponry. And how important it is to change the discourse and change the way we look at ourselves and how we actually deal and operate with problems and conflict. And I just feel the pain of people in Ukraine and all that mess and the stupidity of war. And it's crazy when you think they have been at war for 8 years, and now the world notices them just because now they're fighting the Russians directly. So it's just insane to me. But anyway, glad to be here. And what I expect to do is, again, keep on learning and actually exploring triangles and angles is very relevant, because if we don't understand how the universe works, we cannot solve any problems, basically. I mean, at least that's my feeling. So I'm glad that I'm in a group where we are concerned with solving problems and understanding universal principles. So with that, Johnny Butler, how do you feel, my friend, and what do you expect to get out of today?
Rathers, I'm feeling very good because Perth is a beautiful part of the world. We're catching up. We kept COVID out for a long time, but now we've got it in. So we're watching our daily figures. But that's part of human insanity. And yeah, I agree with you. Di and I have been doing a lot of talking about Ukraine, what part we can play, how we react. I mean, Eckhart Tolle would say the first thing you can do is you can remain conscious, because I don't know whether any of you have ever heard the interview with him on September 11, but they had organised an interview with him just before the Twin Towers went down, and they contacted him and said, "You want to cancel the interview?" And he said, "No, I want to go ahead with the interview." So they said, so what's happening in the world sort of is evil on the rise. We've just seen the Twin Towers taken down. And he said, well, we're moving to both extremes. There is more positive, there is more negative. And if you think about the United States, think about Trump, who was out praising Putin just before the invasion. There is insanity, more obvious insanity throughout the world, but let's hope it is as Tolle says. There's also more of the positive. There are hopefully more groups like us who are keen to be conscious and contribute to a better world. And it still raises concern, and the challenge is not to let that concern become ascendant. So to keep doing our bit, whatever it is, to assist those around us and to remain more positive and to keep educating ourselves. And yes, a crazy and troubling world. So as usual, I'm keen to learn a little more, and I love triangles because, as Bucky said, the tetrahedron is the building block of the universe. And we've made that part of our logo for our firm for that very reason. So what I want to take out of today is just a better understanding of geometry and Bucky. So Joseph, how do you feel and what do you want to take out of today?
Hi, John. Thank you. I'm feeling pretty good. I'm happy to be here with everyone. I too share everybody's concern about the individuals that are going through a lot of pain right now in the Ukraine. But I'm hopeful that something they'll come to some kind of resolution here in the near future, and the violence will stop. That may be wishful thinking, but that's what I keep hoping for. And it's good to be here with everyone here this evening. I know we're missing a couple people, like Manu. I don't know what to do. I don't think I've ever been on a call without Manu. So but we have Julian here, so and back from a few weeks, so I'm happy about that. And what am I looking to take out of today? I'm looking to build a little bit on, I really need to keep understanding lines, triangles, and bonding. And if I can pull those three together, I can really start to see where there are connections beyond what people normally see. And I think that that's a really, that's a valuable skill to have, is that you're able to look at a system and actually just see how well the system and the parts work together. And that's really, I want to keep building on that. I think we have some good momentum coming off of Wednesday and previous calls. So I'm looking to build on that, and looking to build on that with Julian. And Julian, how do you feel, and what are you looking to take away from today?
Wow, we still can't hear you. You took the mute off your microphone, but your audio is not coming through.
Do you hear me now?
Now.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, let's try with this. Oh, thank you. So, thank you, Joe, and thank you everyone for that glad welcome. I'm glad to see you. I'm sorry for not being on the previous weeks. Several familiar compromises, and the other day my body was telling me just like I cannot spend more awake, so I have to decide to take a sleep. But today I'm feeling energized. I'm feeling good, and I'm very happy to hear you and to see also that you have been able to tackle on some new topics. So I'm expect that today I will be able to get back with you again, like get on the pace with you. And also I'm pretty excited because the triangles is something that we have been constantly discovering again and again. Like, how much can we learn more about triangles? Like I never imagined in this kind of call. So I'm glad to see what happens. And again, thank you for that welcome. I think it's only Stephen, right? So Stephen, how do you feel today, and what do you expect from today's call?
Okay, well, I just got an email from Manu saying he didn't have the link. So I'm going to send him over that thing and distract myself for just a minute as I do that. So Manu's going to be joining us. That's very exciting. I'm real excited to be here. We've had some I'm going to say it all. I'm going to blame it on you, Julian. A month or so ago, you sent me you sent some questions out to the group. Then you and I engaged in some correspondence about that, which was very enlightening for me, but sent me really deep into it. And now these topics that we're talking about now have just blown my brain out. You know, where I thought I knew a little bit about something, I'm realizing that I only know less than I thought I knew. So, and what I'm planning on is that each of us are going to contribute tonight or today, and to get a clarity of understanding, so that whatever it is I think I understand, I communicate to you, and then whatever it is you think you understand, you communicate to me, and by working with otherness, we can come to some really powerful definitions and stuff. And really, I'm looking at creating that artifact on Synergetics, something that where we say, okay, here's what Bucky says, what does it mean today? So I'm really counting on you guys to really clarify the whole thing for me. Just as a matter of some business, I'm not sure that everybody's getting the emails, just like Manu did not get the email. And I know that his email address was included on there, and it could be something about group emails not clearing through the ISP. So if you know somebody who's supposed to be on the call and they're not here, go ahead and take your email right now and send it to them and say, hey, are you getting these emails? And let's spread the word and make sure that everyone has access to the links as much as possible. I'm going to also check and make sure that my email to Manu actually left. Yeah, it did leave. So it went out the door with him. Okay, good. So we expect him to come in momentarily. And I've already stated that what we're going to do this week is we're going to redo triangles and create some more clarity, and thus have an artifact that really works. I didn't actually send out last weekend's call link because I thought there were so many questions in it that we really needed to resolve them this week anyway. Okay, good. Any comments or questions about what I just said? Okay, John Butler's coming in.
I'll leave you and rejoin you.
Yeah, good. And so he just came in, and it'd be great to have Manu join, but we'll see what happens when that happens. Okay, any comments or questions about anything I just said? All right. Going once, twice. Okay, so what I think we'll do tonight, I also thought it was kind of fun to show this little slide. This is did you guys know that this was Palindrome Week? That these were the dates for the last actually 9 days, and they're palindromes if they're written a certain way. Wasn't that exciting? Okay, good. Just symmetry is a thing that I've started to notice. And when I got this little meme in, I said, well, why didn't it start on, anyway, I added the 20th in here. And what I see is I left off 22022, 22022. I don't know, whatever this means. So there we go. All right, let's look at today's reading and see what we're going to go through. This is this is the little artifact that I've prepared so far for today. And we're just going to go through this, and I'm going to make notes as we go and clarify it based on what you all say. So what we might do here is we might read the overall paragraph on triangles. Like, John, may I ask you to read and pause at every sentence and make sure that you are understanding each sentence. If you need to reread it to understand it, we all need that. Go through one sentence at a time. Let's see what we can grok or understand, and then we'll tackle each sentence one at a time and go through for its meaning. How does that sound for everybody?
Okay.
All right.
So
great.
I'm starting off with 224.06 triangle.
Right.
The three angles of one face of a planar triangle always add up to 180 degrees as a phenomenon independent of the relative dimensional size of the triangles. You're going to do it sentence by sentence, did you say?
Sure. And a pause there, as long as you're clear. go ahead and read the
Yep.
next one. If anybody has a comment or question, they can jump in, but we're going to take these one at a time.
1/2 of definitive cyclic unity is 180 degrees. Every triangle has two faces, its obverse and reverse. Unity is 2. So we note that the angles of both faces of a triangle add up to 360 degrees.
What is
Which is
obverse?
cyclic, which is cyclic unity.
Did someone just say something?
Yeah,
I
I
think-
wanted to ask what is obverse and the reverse.
We're going
Obverse
to
and
talk,
reverse.
we're going to talk about those specifically, Julian. Thank you for jumping in, but we'll talk about them down here as we hit it. Okay?
Okay, okay. Thank
Okay,
you.
good. And any other questions you have, pipe them up and jot them down because we'll put them in the mix. Go ahead, John, wherever you were.
Okay. Unity is 2. So we note that the angles of both faces of a triangle add up to 360 degrees. Externally, the sum of the angles around each of the triangle's 3 vertexes is 120 degrees, of which 60 degrees is on the obverse side of each vertex for a triangle, like a line, if it exists, is an isolatable system, always having positive and negative aspects. I want some clarity here.
Yeah, that's where we exploded last week, John. So we're going to spend a good amount of time on that.
So I understand the 180 degrees inside a triangle and the 2 sides of the triangle, which gives us a total of 360, which is unity. But externally, the sum of the angles around each of the triangle's 3 vertices is 120 degrees. I don't get that. Are we talking about the outside of the point of the triangle? And if so, how can that be 120 degrees? If you've got an equilateral triangle, then the angles are 60 degrees each in size.
Right.
And therefore, surely you're going to have.
Right. The key here is the word each.
Yes,
So instead of
the-
each of the triangle's 3 vertices, it should say each vertex is 120 degrees, of which 60 degrees is the obverse side. And I've actually got a chart to demonstrate that down below. So hang on to your thoughts if you can.
Yeah,
and
sure.
We'll get into it in great detail.
So the next sentence is, so the sum of the vertexes around a triangle, 3 times 360 equals 1080. The remainder of 360 degrees from 1080 degrees leaves 720 degrees, or 1 tetrahedron, QED.
And I'm hoping that Manu gets here before we get to that sentence.
Right.
Good. Any other, I think, John, you hit the nail on the head in terms of why we're redoing this. So I think the next thing is to do, unless there's some other comments or questions, we'll just proceed and break it down 1 sentence at a time. Everybody okay with that?
Yep.
All right, here we go. Go ahead, John.
Bucky, the 3 angles of one face of a planar triangle always add up to 180 degrees as a phenomenon independent of the relative dimensional size of the triangles. Got that? No problem.
I think most of us do have that. I want to talk about my convention as I've broken this up in order to make it clear when I may be writing something or when Bucky said something, I put the word Bucky in front of it to make sure that you know it's a Bucky quote and that anything else here is my interpretation, okay? I also want to point out that in this sentence, the 3 angles of one face of a planar triangle always add to 180. Bucky put quote marks around the face of around the word face. So evidently he feels there's something significant about what we would call the face of a triangle. And of course, we are going to find that this refers back to Julian's question about obverse and reverse, because there isn't a single face of a triangle. The face of a triangle does not exist without obverse and reverse, and we'll talk about that down here as we go. The next thing that was interesting to me was that he did not put a quote mark around the word planar, and I find this word planar being very confusing in this whole conversation. And so I put down a couple of definitions of planar.
Yeah.
And then I put down what I thought was what you'd get from Wikipedia and Google. And then I put down my own definition of what I thought Bucky was trying to say. So let's examine this word planar with some detail and with as much questions that we've used so far. Let's really deliberate this. John, do you want to read
Sure.
this first part?
Yep. Definitions of planar. What is the definition of planar? In mathematics, a plane is a flat, two-dimensional surface that extends indefinitely.
Okay. Does anybody have anything they want to debate about what their understanding is about the conventional definition of planar?
No.
Yeah.
That seems to be pretty conventional, don't you agree?
Yep.
But now we're going to step into Bucky's universe. And I think when Bucky talks about it, he's going to refer to something different. And we're going to see that as it unveils as we do the proofs and the math down below. Now, of course, this is my wording here. John, if you care to read.
What is planar triangle in Bucky's universe? A shape with three visible sides observed on a plane, and with an obverse side and a reverse side. One side is visible. The aspects of both sides must be calibrated and accounted for to comprehend the system. Spoiler alert, Bucky used the word aspects later in the paragraph.
Now, I think I could change this and say a shape with three visible sides at a minimum. Well, this is a planar triangle. So a planar shape would be, would maybe have more than three sides. So this works out to be pretty good.
Would it have more
I
than
think.
three
Keep challenging. Keep challenging.
okay, I'm just
If you have a planar square
Yeah.
or
Okay.
a planar rectangle,
Then you'd have four sides on a planar square. Exactly. That was my
Yes.
intention.
Yeah.
Joe, as you feel good about that then?
yeah, I mean that's clear to me. Yeah, that's
Okay,
fine.
good.
I
Continue to be critical.
yeah, I
That's
was
exactly-
just thinking of planar in other terms, but that's okay.
And actually, Bucky jumps here a couple of times without being explicit about it. And so it's very important that you and I, as we're reading this, are very clear about when those jumps occur. And so far, he's just talking about a planar triangle. Okay. Now, Bucky's first thing was that the three angles of one face of a planar triangle is always equal to 180 degrees as a phenomenon independent of the relative dimensional size of the triangles. So three angles of one face of a planar triangle always add up to 180 degrees. This is some graphics here to explain the solution. And I have comments about these graphics. Does anybody else have comments about these graphics before we start?
Yeah, but it's going back to the idea of a rectangle or a square. We go back to Bucky's point about stable structures. You see,
Right.
you see a rectangle here. You see, it's not really stable, is it?
It's not stable.
When you have a triangle, that is, let me see.
Here, hey, let me stop the share and let's picture you. I'm going to pin you to the thing. So go ahead and do that again, because I think a lot of people might have missed that.
Okay, let me just, what I need to do now is just drop one of my steel balls. I have to find it. But let me just stop the, what I need to do is change my background so that.
Oh, your background worked because it was in front of you. So
Yeah,
we could
but-
see that. We could see it really well.
Yeah, but I
think-
need to, I have
Okay.
it blurred. Okay, now it's better. Okay, good.
Right.
Now look, you see? See, it's
Right.
not stable at all. You see?
And you can even
Whereas-
twist it 180 degrees side to side. Yeah. I mean,
Yeah,
see, that's
exactly.
not stable.
Yeah. So once you get a triangle, that is, you remove these things. See, then you have a stable structure. See?
Right.
So that's, I think it's important to see things. So that's why the triangle is so important. Actually, you look at the square, you can get two triangles inside.
Yeah.
So effectively, a rectangle is just an addition of triangles.
Yeah.
Right.
And you could talk about the verse or reverse, just to explain that. The side I'm showing to you now, the one you're facing, you can say is the verse. And the one you cannot see, the one that's facing me, is the reverse.
Okay, good.
Okay.
So
And-
when Bucky talks about planar, he can see both sides. So he just needs one. Because again, you have the positive and the negative, what is visible and what is not visible.
Right on. I want to point
Just to
out
explain
that,
that a little bit more. Yeah.
yeah, and I want to point out, as you said, Roffers, if you were a carpenter, if I were a carpenter and I was building a wall and I wanted my wall to be square,
Yeah.
I would put a triangular reinforcement on that square in order to
Yeah.
make it stable.
Yeah.
You pointed out a square can really be just two triangles. And that's how a carpenter, that's one way to stabilize a rectangular structure.
And this gets
Mhm.
back to, I guess, bonding in some degree that
Yeah,
we're talking about.
That's correct. Yes.
Yeah. I mean, it was stable structures.
Yeah, cool. Manu has joined us, which is a wonderful thing because we haven't gotten the thick of this yet. And I'm sure that so far everything we've said he's in total agreement with. Good evening, Manu. And we're just going to continue reading. And well, you know, Manu, go ahead. Why don't you didn't get the link? I resent you the link. How are you feeling, and what do you expect out of today?
Okay, I'm feeling good. I'm happy that I can join, and I'm just boarded the train. I'm finding a seat. So
You did
just
what?
continue. I'm just finding a seat on the train.
Oh, okay. You're finding
Yes.
a seat on the train. Gotcha.
So just
And-
continue.
And see, this is 5 a.m. for Manu. So it's not like he gets up and he's spry and he's got all this energy going because he's been thinking about it for an hour. You know, he was thinking about it last night as he hit the sack. So welcome to the call, Manu. I stopped complaining
Thank
about
you,
how early.
Mano.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So the three angles of one face of a planar triangle always add up to 180 degrees. Now, I'm showing you some different triangles here because one of the things that we've talked about on the weekend is that when we really start getting into the math of everything, Bucky is talking about equilateral triangles, which is signified by these little equal signs on these sides over here, as is here and here. An isosceles triangle is equal on two sides only, and the other triangles, scalene, acute, right angle, and obtuse, generally have no equal sides. If a triangle has two equal sides, it's isosceles, and if it has three equal sides, it's equilateral, and those are commonly accepted definitions in geometry. Right now, Bucky is talking about a planar triangle. It could be any one of these. It could be any one of these. Everybody understand the difference between an equilateral triangle and other kinds of triangles? Good. Let me point out something. What do you notice about this this figure right here in the middle, the green figure? What do you notice about that figure?
It's a scalene, isn't it? No equal sides.
No equal sides.
Oh,
Is that
it's
a
got a
90
right
degree?
angle. Sorry, it's got a right angle. Yeah.
Yeah, if
it's
that's a
actually
right angle, then it's
yeah,
acute.
Not a scalene. Yeah.
But if it's not a right angle, then it's scalene. Okay, good observation. Perfect. What else do you notice about this diagram? Well, I've looked at it many times. Let me share with you what I get out of this diagram. This diagram is showing that angle A, or alpha, as it appears here, is exactly equal to angle A as it appears here. If you take the baseline on a triangle and you draw a parallel line across the top, then the that if these two lines are parallel, then this angle alpha will be the same as this angle alpha. This angle B is unique to the triangle, and this angle Y is equal to this angle Y. And this is a demonstration that all the angles in a triangle equal 180 degrees. Everyone realizes that that line is a plane of 180 degrees in standard geometry. Now that's how I've interpreted this. Alpha plus beta, or whatever that is, looks like an S-set auf Deutsch in German, and Y, epsilon, equals 180 degrees, A, B, Y. Does everybody, are you all getting the same message? Is there anything that I maybe have overlooked here? Okay.
Something that I noticed is that you can join the same triangle. You can move it and find joining three triangles in
the
same-
parallel lines.
Exactly. Like,
Yeah. This could be a triangle here. Here's a triangle here.
exactly.
And this could be a triangle here. And all three of those triangles would have the same dimensions if they were constructed that way. Right on.
Yeah.
That's a good thing to notice. Anything else? Okay, good. Let's look at this diagram. Okay, what are you going to say, John? Were you going to say something?
No.
Okay, I thought I heard somebody say something. Okay, now this triangle is a little bit different. It's basically expressing the same thing here. A plus B plus C equals 180 degrees. So this is offering the proof. And it's actually basically the same triangle as this, because it says A plus C plus D is equal to 100, or I mean, C plus D is equal to 180 degrees. And A plus B equals D. So it's just kind of another way to look at this, but I like this one better. Any comments or questions? Okay, good. And then Bucky reads this statement. John, if you'd care to read that.
Sure. As a phenomenon independent of the relative dimensional size of the triangles.
There it is. That's the conclusion of the sentence. So the three angles of one face of a planar triangle always equal 180 degrees, no matter how big or small the triangles are. And that is Bucky's first point. Any comments or questions? Okay, good. Now the next point that Bucky makes here, and I'm just going to put this on the next page for convenience sake. Okay, John.
1/2 of definitive cyclic unity is 180 degrees.
Now we all understand that, right?
Right.
And if you want to read more, go ahead, John.
This is a Bucky definition. We understand that a whole definitive cyclic unity equals 360 degrees. To confirm this, the definition of angular unity is stated in Synergetics 222.04. 360 degrees is angular unity. The solution, 360 degrees angular unity divided by 2 equals 180 degrees equals 1/2 of definitive cyclic unity. Definitive equals finite, definable, measurable.
Comments or questions? My comment is that Bucky uses these words: finite, definable, measurable, calibration, definitive cyclic. You know, he uses these terms and he uses them some kind of interchangeably. And I'm noticing that here he says angular unity and here he says definitive cyclic unity. So evidently angular unity must be the same as cyclic unity. Do we all agree with that? I'm not putting two things incorrectly on that, am I? Do we all agree that angular unity equals cyclic unity? At least it seems to in this sentence, don't you think?
Mhm.
Okay, good. Comments or questions? All right, here we go.
And could you scroll back up there for a moment, Steve?
Yeah, please, Joe.
I just want to take a one look. That's okay. All right, I'm good.
You see that?
Yep.
All right, good. And Julian, do you want to read this? Because this is really to your question.
Of course.
Question, not question, comment.
Okay, go
Yeah, go
ahead,
ahead.
Manu.
Always remember that he's talking here about you are on a plane. It is on a plane that the cyclic unity is 360. Do we agree to that?
Yeah.
That is in planar geometry.
Okay,
Do you say that if we are on a planar surface, we should take into account 360 degrees? Why is that?
No, what I'm saying is that the cyclic unity is on a
Oh.
plane.
And they're playing 180 degrees.
do you want to demonstrate that,
Yeah.
Manu? With a sheet of paper or something? Can you figure out a way to demonstrate that?
No, it's just a circle. That's what the circle is. The cyclic unity on a plane is a circle.
There we go. Does everybody get that? Take a sheet of paper, draw a circle. You have 360 degrees on a plane.
Yeah.
A planar circle has 360 degrees.
Yeah.
You have 180 degrees above the line and 180 degrees below the line. Everybody got that?
Yes, and you get the observe and the reverse, then you have the 360, I mean, the double. So
720.
720. Yeah.
Yeah.
And do you guys remember, and Susan pointed it out, that on that one Synergetics, in fact, let me, right here in our email tonight, what was I going to say about the,
But you have just demonstrated there, Steve, the observe and the reverse side.
yeah, we're
of
going to
a
talk
line.
about obverse. We're going to talk about obverse and reverse in just a
Reverse.
second. But
Of a
you
line.
guys-
What I was going to say is that by saying above the line is 180 degrees and below the line is 180 degrees,
Right.
Mhm.
just QED, the observe, obverse, and then reverse side of a line.
Mhm.
Yeah, and see, we're starting to get into some of these things. Do you remember when Susan pointed out last week, and I'm trying to find the graphic quickly and I'm not finding it quickly, that when Bucky draws a line between 2 points, he doesn't draw a straight line, he draws
It's a curve.
line.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's exactly the issue. You have the
Right.
obverse and you have the reverse. You have the concave and you have
Yeah,
the
that's-
convex.
Convex.
I was going to ask. Yeah, that's what I was going to
Yeah.
ask you next.
You have the visible and the not visible. You have the illusory and the definitive. These are words Bucky uses. Manu, you feel good about those words, right? Those are good used words, or did I misuse a word?
No, you're not misusing, because when you are on top of a plane, when you are on the plane, on the obverse, you don't
Yeah.
see what is there.
Yeah.
I mean,
You don't see what's under.
Yes,
Yeah.
the best demonstration is my hand.
Yeah,
This can be the obverse,
right.
reverse.
And there's the reverse. Exactly. And this is a
Visible,
touchy,
non-visible, visible, non-visible.
Mhm.
right on. And depending on on which side of the plane you're standing.
Yes,
Exactly. And in standard geometry, there's only one side of the plane.
yes.
With Bucky, there's two sides of the plane.
Yeah.
And this comes back to the wine dance where the cup is over and then it comes around and goes under, right? Goes
Mhm.
over, around, under, and back through. I used to do it better than that. But there's your converse and your concave, right?
Yes.
I'm just not a good wine dancer. I apologize. Okay.
But
I hope you're a good wine drinker, though.
Is there a relationship with the plane that, for instance, if you have a piece of paper and you draw something here, so you see it in a way, and when I want to see it on the other plane, it has to be like on the opposite, you know, like you see everything in the opposite order. I don't know if you understand what I mean. So maybe that's the negative also, like the positive is something that you have in this order, and the negative is something that is completely in the different order, and maybe that's why they complement, like they make this cyclic unity. The same thing with the sphere, you know, that we were talking the other day, that you have the positive over here and the negative over here that you don't see. So I believe the plane is the same concept. There is a plane that we don't see. That's it.
That's why I talk about illusionary plane. A plane does not exist in reality, but it is a condition at the limit where, you know, it looks like it is plane, but in actual fact, as he was pointing out with a line, it is not plane. It's
so
just straight. Yeah.
And this conversation is really good because we're going to get into it really thick here in just a couple seconds, okay? Every triangle has two faces. In this case, faces was not in quotes.
Yeah.
So in the first place, he's trying to point out there's something peculiar about a face. If you'll recall up here in the first sentence, 3 angles of one face of a planar triangle. And now he's into the body text and he's explaining now exactly what a face is. And he's saying every triangle has 2 faces, obverse and reverse.
Yes.
Good. So here's a Bucky definition. A triangle has 2 faces. One face is obverse, the other is reverse. And we've all been talking about that up to this point. Isn't that right?
Yep.
There's the side we can see and the side we can't see because it's on the other side, just like when Manu did this, right? It's on the side we're not seeing. One side is definitive, the other side is illusory, but it's still there. Okay.
And I want to add that I was looking in the dictionary here, and it says that obverse is the principal side or the front of the surface of something. So
I've got those on this sheet of paper, Julian. They're on the sheet of paper. I'm going to give you those exact words. Ready?
Okay.
Double check and make sure they're with what you found. Okay.
Okay.
Let's examine the definition of each of these words. I point out here, is a triangle therefore just like a coin? Because a coin has 2 faces, right? I don't think it's quite the same, and let's talk about it. So here's the dictionary definition of obverse and the dictionary definition for reverse. John, do you want to read the definition?
Yes, starting with obverse.
Right.
Obverse, the side of a coin or medal bearing the head or principal design. We refer to this side of the coin as the face side or the head's side.
Now, is that good with everybody?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fine.
All right, good. And then the definition of reverse is, go ahead, John.
The opposite or contrary to that previously stated. We refer to the opposite side of a coin as the reverse side or the tails side. Heads up,
Okay.
you win, tails up, you lose.
Right.
Okay.
Now,
But
this
remember
is,
here, yeah, Steve, go on.
this is the conversation about obverse and reverse relative to coins.
Yeah.
But I'm not clear that that is exactly the way Bucky is using them, because there's a second definition of obverse.
In Bucky's use, you know, let's just look at this. When you talk about a coin, there's a preference. You've minted a coin. You have defined that this is what it is, the face. And usually you have formed it or you have drawn it in such a way that is recognized as such. In Bucky's language, he's talking about dualities. In other ways, all of those things are always in motion. The same coin or the same triangle is in motion, and the obverse and the reverse will pulsate. You get what I'm trying to say?
Mhm.
They will pulsate, and when they pulsate, they are one moment they are visible, one is visible, the other moment is no more visible. So you don't distinguish them. They coexist to make the triangle. And that is it. There is no preference of face or tail. There is only a kind of me observing as it is, let's just say half period. It's shown to me. I see that half period is gone. And I see the other side of it. It is the same thing. So it is not in the sense of the face, the head wins and the tail lose. You get what I'm trying to say?
I believe so. Does everybody get what he's trying to say?
It is not separate. It is not separate. It is one. It is
Mhm.
the unity that is always talking about.
Yeah. and
Because head doesn't, in Bucky's language, head doesn't exist in
Yeah.
reality. You don't see it. You perceive a shadow or something. That is a triangle.
Yeah. And so I want to show you where the second definition of obverse really applies more to Bucky's way of thinking.
Yes.
And here it is. Here's the first definition that we read, the side of a coin or metal bearing the head of the principal design. But look at the second definition.
Yes, I was thinking about that actually. That's exactly what I was thinking about. People's perceptions of reality, what is true and what is false.
The true solitude is the obverse of true society. The opposite or counterpart of a fact or a truth.
Yeah. I prefer counterpart. It means the two are in relation. It is in relation that makes whatever that we are observing.
And here's
And I
the,
would say-
go ahead. Okay. And here's the really frustrating part for me is, well, corresponding to something else as its opposite or counterpart. This is the adjective form of the noun. And if I go over here to Google and I do a search, pardon me, I got stuff in the way here. If I do a search for the definition of reverse, you're going to see that the definitions are almost the same. And so this is where we have to get really clear on what Bucky's talking about here.
Mhm.
But there is a flaw in what we say, is that we are looking for the definition of what Bucky is saying in a truncated geometry.
Right.
Because the dictionary is a truncated geometry. Dictionary is meant to elicit what we see, what we agree to in society.
Right on. So does
Whereas
everybody,
Bucky is talking about a way that is integrative. What is unity? Unity is two. In a normal dictionary, unity two doesn't mean anything.
right. And so notice this is the definition of the word reverse. The opposite or contrary to that previously stated, and look at the definition of obverse. The opposite or counterpart of a
To
fact or truth. Corresponding to something, and I don't like it here. So corresponding to something that is opposite of something else. I don't like it. Its are disgusting to me. They just make things all confusing. When a dictionary uses the word it and then uses the word itself to define the word, it drives me crazy. So we have to decide what obverse and reverse means in the context of a Bucky conversation. And so, Manu, do you want to, what do you think? Is the
I think-
obverse the side we're looking at, or is the obverse the reverse?
Well,
does it
I think
matter?
that, yes, the first thing that we have to agree on and agree with Becky is that they are part of the same thing. It's like saying, this now, I'm not just saying that, it's like saying a car has wheels and the body, you know, something like that. You
Right.
know, they're part of the same thing, right?
Part of the whole.
Yes. And in Bucky's language, we're always talking about the whole. And now we are perceiving it one or the other. To me, I wouldn't label it exactly. I just say that if the observed exists, the reverse is somewhere that I'm not seeing.
Yeah.
Mhm.
If I'm
That's
seeing
the
the
way-
reverse,
that's the way I see it. I don't color it. I don't label it. I just know
Agreed.
that if I'm using that one, I have to use it in the context of the other.
of the other. One does
Yes.
not exist without the other. If I happen to be looking at the obverse, then the reverse is hidden. If I'm looking at the reverse, then the obverse is hidden. And it's just, and we can get lost in the words. The idea is there are two sides. Unity is two,
Yes.
Mhm.
no matter what word we put on it. Everybody good with that?
Mhm.
Yeah.
All right, wonderful. So let's come back to this worksheet. I think this is the, no, this.
That's
oh,
that's
I
really
got it.
important to understand, though.
Why is that, Joe?
Because I was thinking of just things that we were talking about on Tuesday, the idea of Talib, Nassim Talib, like the idea of understanding that the reverse could actually occur. What can it, like, then you can start to predict what's possible
Right.
within a system. So
Yeah.
that you can start to see. So this idea of, let's just say, a black swan event, you can start to understand that that's possible and predict it, even though that specific event may not be predictable, but you can start to see that. Yeah, you can start to see the predictions or the possibilities.
Because they exist together as a unit.
As a unity.
Right on. Good. This was a real hard point for me, and it still bothers me because I like to see specific definitions for specific words, and this is conceptual, and I don't think specificity helps here. Except the specific is there are two sides or two faces to a triangle, even though I can only see one at a time.
Mhm.
It's like
Okay.
a business card. It's flat, it's planar, got two sides, you can only see one at a time.
Right
Yeah.
on. And then, John, which one is the obverse and which one is the reverse?
I would say the one that shows your name, see, the two sides of the triangle aren't necessarily distinguished. It's just which way you tilt it.
Exactly right.
So I don't think either's designated. With the business card, one is designated.
Really good. I love that. I think that is, if I could get that idea through my head, that in a business card or a coin, one is designated. But in terms of this angular topological geometry, there is no significant designation, except to know there's a two-ness. So I draw
I'm asking a question there. Who do you see in the mirror?
in my mirror or in yours? No.
In your mirror, who do you see?
Well, I see a converse of me or an obverse of me.
Yes.
Is that your point?
Yeah, I mean, if you were to agree with the dictionary definition, what you see in the mirror is not you.
Yeah. And by the way, this same problem exists in most mystery schools, like in Kabbalah. And when they teach energy and chakras, the question is, am I looking at the front of the body or the back of the body? And this is a question in every mystery school. So I'm glad I thought of that here at the last moment. Okay, good. We're beating this horse. So on the one hand, we have a coin that has an obverse and a reverse side, and we would tend to think like triangles are the same way, and they are to some degree, but the metaphor stops there because we're talking about system, we're talking about topology, and we're talking about the structure of systems. Now, the next sentence is unity is two, and I really believe that this should go along, that this should be up here in this sentence. Even though it's a separate sentence, I think it should go right here with it, because that reconfirms it saves a lot of words on the discussion of unity is two. Is everybody okay with that?
Yes.
Yes, yes.
All right, good.
Yeah.
So
Or again, we go back to unity is a minimum of two.
there we go. And I think that's the discussion I brought up here. Raffers, very good point. So in Bucky's standard definition, universe is a unity is a minimum of two.
Yeah.
In the case of a triangle, we understand that unity is two.
But not a tetrahedron.
What did you just say, John?
In a tetrahedron, unity is more than two.
Yeah. Exactly.
What's the
right.
maximum?
Is
I
there a
don't think there
maximum?
is a maximum,
Don't know that there is.
because I think I see a universe filled with tetrahedrons.
Yeah, there's no maximum, yes. Because again, the tetrahedrons can be divisions as well. So again, it's,
The maximum could be the number I can count.
yes.
It's
And
infinity.
anything beyond the number I can count, there's still more.
Yeah.
But they're
But in
illusionary.
actual fact, in reality, unity is two. It say at the minimum of two for people to understand, because after that, it is just, as Steve would say, fractals of that
Right.
two.
Yeah,
Unity is
that
two.
is true. Yeah. Agreed.
That
Okay,
is the
good.
main difference between Bucky and the others. Unity is two.
Right on. So unity is two, and unity is a minimum of two. But if it's more than the minimum of two, it's always in twos.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes.
The minimum of two come from the dynamic other thing. You know, you can't, if everything is moving, if it is moving, it is showing different, it is dividing, it is, but unity is two.
Is two at a minimum of two. So the next quantity is four. There is no three.
No.
Is that okay?
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. That's how we get to fourness.
Yes.
Right.
Okay, cool.
But I have a question. Like in geometry, what we were talking makes sense. But if I'm looking for this pen, this is one pen. Where's the other pen that I'm not seeing? Like,
Is the writing. Is a function of pen. You say a pen because the pen is for writing. So the dual of a pen is the writing. Is metaphysical. You got the pen, you know, you're trying to see another pen in the form, in the geometric 3D of, no, it's not there. To see the other one, you have to go into 4 dimensions and see the writing.
it's like if I see the sun, and one thing is what I see, and the other sun is actually what we what we think of the sun as a metaphysical concept. Maybe that's it. Like,
No, I'm saying this one. You thought about the name pen because pen is for writing.
Yes.
It's a whole function. A pen like this, only on its own, might not be called a pen. It might just be an art object somewhere. but in the functional and description of somethingness, you have to define the duality of a pen as like the pen and its dual are one in a functional way.
Mhm.
Interesting. I like that idea. Like it has to become something until we find that duality. So in that way, it comes like a unity.
Yes, like the pen. When you see the pen, imagine that there's gravity in the pen because the ideas come from wherever they are, and they seem to like flowing into the pen.
Yeah.
Right? And they flow out into a writing, into another medium. Okay?
What do you
The
mean
pen-
into another medium?
Into printing. I mean, you have written something. You know, a page that is written was, yes, is a functional unity. Bucky is always talking about the functional unity. It's not a static thing that is in there for it. It is a functional unity.
Okay.
Or
Okay,
to see it in another way,
What is the dual of a virus?
a dual of a what?
The virus.
like the COVID virus.
Yes. Is the host, is the body.
Yes.
Mm.
For you to be defined as, you know, like the evidence of a virus is in you, and the two of you manifest with a symptom of COVID that people, I mean, that has been identified. Is a functional unity.
That's a great point.
Or you can go back to RNA and DNA as well.
Oh, I like that.
So that's another duality, see?
Yeah, so I'll put them in here. So unity, I gotta get find my.
Okay, we could go again into relations and interrelations as well.
Mhm.
When we describe, you know, the universe.
So unity is a minimum of 2. So the next minimum is 4. Unity is always.
Hang on. Steve, do I not have a memory of Bucky saying somewhere, you and me and universe make 3?
Yes.
He may have said that. But remember,
So
universe.
no 3.
Well, there's no me without you, actually.
That's right. But
you and me and universe make 3.
exactly. But universe is always divisible by 2.
But it creates a triangle, right? So you're saying there is no 3. I'm just wanting to get clear about
Well,
that.
there's you and me, and then there's you and me and the universe. They cannot
is
exist
3.
without each other.
Yeah, which
And
is 3.
universe is always divisible by 2. What's that, John?
But you're saying there can be no 3.
No, there
Yes,
can be.
No, there's no 3.
Well,
Where do
there's
you get
3
the
in a
3?
triangle. There's 3 in a triangle, isn't there?
That's right.
Except
There are 3 bodies. There are 3
Right.
relationships in a triangle. There are
Yes.
3 relationships. We
But
are
even-
counting. Yes.
But even then, there's the obverse and the reverse. Thus, there are
Exactly.
6 with the 3
That's it.
divisible by
Yes.
2, and you get 3.
Yes.
Yes.
Which is
So the 3 made a structure. The 3 bodies, A, B,
Right.
C, D.
it makes a system.
So
Yes.
you, me, and
Yeah.
universe is a structure.
Yes.
That's right. You need the
Right.
3rd to go beyond planar.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's the interrelationships.
No,
Mhm.
but where I don't understand where you and me are in the universe.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
We are in universe. So we're part of universe. You
Right.
can't separate. Universe is a primordial one.
Right on.
Yes.
Cool. So do I need to add words to this?
I don't think I think
Universe
you
is
add-
primordial 1 is actually,
Okay, well, I'll add that in here, okay?
yeah, please.
But then it relates to everything. It starts with 1, and then it divides.
And so I've put in these
Right.
graphics to depict universe,
Mhm.
because really these tetrahedra here are really vectors of energy
Yeah.
Yes.
that form systems.
Right.
I like to see this. I can understand this, but I don't understand this. And they're the same.
If the first manifests locally in the one is the manifestation is just as we're talking about, you know, a dual representation.
I think what Manu just said is really critical, because one of the things, like, remember our conversation about in and out
Right.
and up and down, and how there is no up and down in universe, there is no up and down, there's in and out, but locally
There's
up and
ups
down
downs.
makes sense,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
So Manu's point about, are we describing local phenomenon, or are we describing universal phenomenon?
Yeah.
This is a key question that one has to discern before one resolves any of Bucky's conversations.
Operationally, we need polarity. We need to recognize ourselves, because the way we are designed, we're always conscious in one phase. And there is a minimum of 2 phases to make a cycle.
Mhm.
Because if we didn't have the poles and the plus and the minus, we wouldn't be conscious. You have to live by day and have experienced night to know that night exists.
Yeah.
And it's important to go through 2 cycles to know when one begins and the other ends.
Exactly.
We've already discussed that. If I only have one 24-hour period, I see the sun come up, I see the sun go down, and I see it dark for a while, but I don't see the cycle, the unity in the cycle, until I see 2. Sun comes up, sun goes down, sun comes up, sun goes down, bammo. Now I have cyclic unity, and I can create definitions of systems.
Yes.
And then you can go beyond that. It's not the sun going up or down. It's our
Well,
spaceship Earth
I said
going
sun goes up
around
and
the
goes
sun.
down. I'm describing it locally, and you corrected me
That's
correctly, Robert.
right.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Sun goes around,
And
sun goes over, sun goes under. How's that?
yeah, that's right. That's it.
Okay, sun goes over, sun goes under, over and under. We have 2 cycles, and we're there. Thank you.
Mhm.
So I insist again, it's always in relationship to our experience.
Yeah, exactly.
The thing exists independently of me, but me, I don't exist independently of that. I have to have an experience.
Yeah. Actually, when you talk about straight lines, for example, remember when we observe a curve and you get very close locally to a curve, you see a straight line.
Yes.
Right.
But when you see actually how universe actually works, there are no lines. There are only curves.
When you are on, say you're traveling from the US to Australia or to South Africa, and when you are up there, right, out there, let me put it, 30,000 feet, then you can see the curvature of the horizon. You can experience it because you know more in.
Yeah.
You know more local.
Yeah.
You are observing from out.
Yes. Unless you're convinced that the Earth is flat.
Well, from one point of view, it is. And this is the sheet that I referred to earlier and the one that we're referring to now. And here's the formula that Manu likes to tell everybody. And of course, that doesn't mean anything to me. Whoops, I stopped sharing. I didn't mean to do that. I grabbed the wrong button on that little thing up there. Here's the formula. But this was the big revelation for me that Susan shared the other day. And this whole concept just blew me away, because nowhere on that sheet, nowhere on this sheet do you see straight lines. Nowhere.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Here's your 3.
Yes.
No, the 3 is a system. It's not 3, it's a system of
Yeah.
3 elements.
Yes.
It is one system. It's 3 in 1.
Mhm.
And there'll be a polarity of it that exists simultaneously.
Yeah.
There'll be an illusory part that exists simultaneously, which I believe is a great description of 4-dimensional reality, but that's just my.
But look at Steve. You can see you see the representation of 3. If you continue on the line of 3 there, yes.
Then you see
Where you
4.
have conceptually closed path. We see in a phase, we see 3. That one, the penultimate column.
You see, this is
No, to the right. Yeah, where you say conceptually come down. Yes, come down to where you have closed path of 4.
I don't see
the second diagram on that column, the second diagram. You see the dark behind. Steve, you're going too far. You see where you have 3? You continue on that row. Yes. And then, yes, you stop there. We are seeing the 3 that John talked about is the 3 clearly outlined, circles. But you see in the horizon a darker one. Yes.
And then you have 4. See?
Yes.
Very cool.
Hmm.
And then when you look at the sum of the adjacent relationships, you have 1 plus 3 equals 4.
Cool.
Mhm.
Okay, well, this sheet blew my mind. No straight lines. And from now on, when I draw a line between 2 points, I'm going to do a line over and under.
Right.
Or over or under, but not a straight line between them.
Yeah.
Even though in a tetrahedron, in Bucky's standard definitions of tetrahedron, he shows a straight line. And even in the standard definition of a triangle, he shows a straight line, but those aren't real.
Yeah, exactly.
Because you are seeing the tetrahedron locally.
Right,
exactly.
right.
Seeing it locally.
Beautiful, you guys. Universe is primordial 1. Unity is 2 at a minimum of 2. So the next minimum is 4. We have 4ness. Unity is always divisible by 2. Polarity, concave, convex. Well, this should be a semicolon.
Yes.
Concave, convex, DNA, RNA, hot, cold, yin, yang, fractal.
Yes.
And that's
Yes.
exactly what we're experiencing here.
Yes.
In fact, what I really could do is I could put Mandelbrot's set up there right next to that picture, and we would see the fractal nature of this whole thing. Desktop, come on, bring me Mandelbrot. Oh, I spelled it wrong. There we go. I can't, I get these bars in the way and I can't see. Okay.
But one thing that is interesting is that the Mandelbrot subset is discrete, right?
It's what?
Discrete.
Discrete.
It's discrete.
Yes.
Yeah.
So since there's no emptiness in universe.
There is no emptiness in the universe.
So beside the orderliness of the Mandelbrot fractals, there is what you call disorganized energy in what you call the voids. You understand what I'm trying to say?
You guys understand?
Okay. So the Mandelbrot fractals are discrete. They're like quantum states. And see, if you look at the ripples, when you identify the ripples, it reproduces the initial forms further and further away, isn't it?
Right.
Yeah.
So you can see them, but energy is flowing.
Yeah.
all over. So if you take a snapshot and you have those ripples, in between ripples, there's something else.
Yeah.
And that something else is something that's not organized in ripples, isn't it? I can see in the background of Julian's picture there on the wall, so some stuff like that, like fractals. You see that? I can see there the gray white thing. Maybe it's a window. I don't know.
It's the curtain. It looks like a curtain to me.
Yes, but the illusion, you know, like I don't know how you've seen it. It does this, and this.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I call it in Spanish la persiana. I don't know how to call it in English.
Okay, but you see on your you have your blind, right?
Yes.
Okay, between the blind, what is? There is light coming in.
Yeah, exactly.
So your blind, blaze, or whatever in there is like the Mandelbrot set, because if everything is curved, they will come in, they'll be coming from a source more, you know, like farther away, but having the same shape.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Having
Yeah.
the same shape, yeah.
Yeah, they'll have the same shape. You only are radius that are farther from the source.
Yeah.
They're like ripples. But in between the ripple, there's something else because there's no void.
Yeah, exactly.
By definition, energy is always there. Energy is always flowing. Energy flows to line of least resistance.
One of the things that I really like about this picture of Mandelbrot is it's distorted. And it was because I was watching a video that had low resolution. And I think that's really symbolic of how I, as a human being, look at reality. The lower my resolution is, the more bubbles and the more amorphous shape I see, and the higher my resolution is, the more I see the edges.
Mm-hmm.
And the edges is where all the events are happening.
Right. That's where all the connections are.
There's tons of stuff out here, and it looks like, oh, there's nothing happening here. No, there's all sorts of stuff happening in here, but it's identifiable on the edges.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right.
Identity is always manifesting at the edges.
Mm-hmm.
Let's just put it again. Identity is always manifesting at the edge.
Part of me
Like
wants to.
Can you give an example of that?
anything. What Steve just said is at the edge, is at the boundary
Mm-hmm.
that you have all
Right.
the interactions,
Right.
right? Either at the boundary or through the boundary with
Yeah.
the outside.
Either from outside the boundary in or inside the boundary out, but it's
Yes.
happening on the boundary.
Yes. Always.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. Golly, it is freaking an hour and a half has transpired. And yet I think we're covering some really good ground here.
Yeah.
So, yeah, John, if you're,
Yep,
you want to read some more,
sure.
let's pause there. Go ahead.
Bucky, so we note that the angles of both faces of a triangle add up to 360 degrees.
Mm-hmm.
The reverse accounts for the other half of cyclic unity. The
There we
first
go.
one half of cyclic unity, the other one half of cyclic unity, 180 degrees plus 180 degrees equals 360 degrees.
Right on.
So the obverse is the first one half of cyclic unity equals 180 degrees, and the reverse is the other one half of cyclic unity, which equals 180 degrees. And thus, the angles of both faces of a triangle add up to 360 degrees.
And I think we've got that. Everybody
Yes.
there?
Yep.
Yes.
Yep.
Now we get to the hard part. This is the one that stumped us at the beginning. Go ahead, John. And I think what we ought to do is go ahead and read through this whole thing here. John, do you mind reading?
I think John is
Did
freeze.
you freeze?
Yeah, John
John?
is frozen, yes.
Okay, Joe, are you present? Want to read? Do
I'm present.
you want to read?
Sure.
Thank you.
With Bucky, externally, the sum of
Right.
the angles around each of the triangle's three vertexes is 120 degrees, of which 60 degrees is on the obverse side of each vertex. For a triangle, like a line, if it exists, is an isolatable system, always having positive and negative aspects.
Okay, so I wanted to break this down in parts. So go ahead and continue to read, Joe, if you would.
It has often proven helpful to start with Bucky's last sentence first. So let's clarify the wording and break the sentence into meaningful parts. We will examine this last externally. We will examine this statement second, the sum of the angles around each of the triangle's three vertexes is 120, of which 60 degrees is on the obverse side of each vertex. We will examine this statement first. For a triangle, like a line, if it exists in an isolatable system, always having positive and negative aspects.
Right on. So, John, we're getting to the good part. Luckily,
is a
you
good
got back in.
My
This is where
computer
your questions
died.
were. And
Anyway,
basically, we just read the problem. Now we're going to go for the solution. So, John, if you're back in and you want to go, let's go ahead
Yep.
and read this.
what does this statement mean? For a triangle, like a line, if it exists, is an isolatable system, always having positive and negative aspects. A, the subject of this sentence, for a triangle, like a line, if it exists. The for is an expletive rather than a preposition. Therefore, a triangle, like a line, if it exists. The simple predicate is an isolatable system.
And so now we can make a basic simple sentence. If you would, John.
Combined, a triangle, like a line, if it exists, is an isolatable system, always having positive and negative aspects.
Comments or questions on that? We understand that, right? A triangle, like a line, if it exists. And I think there's some big, there we could have an hour conversation about that. Is an isolatable system always having positive and negative aspects? And we've already discussed that, right? The positive aspect
means finite.
Yeah. Yeah, the finite or infinite, or the illusory or definitive, right?
Yeah.
The positive aspect is reverse, maybe, convex, and radiates out. The seen, the visible, the finite, and the concave. The negative aspect is the obverse or concave and radiates in, like gravity. The unseen, the invisible, the illusory, the infinite. And I don't know whether this is convex or concave, or this is concave or convex, but those two concepts exist together any way you want to discuss them. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Good. Comments or questions?
Concave is from out in. Convex is radiating. So concave is negative. Convex is positive, radiating out.
Well, I'm going to make a note of that here. So concave. Oh, so I have these exactly backwards then, don't I? Does convex radiates in or out? Which one's positive and which one's negative?
Okay, gravity is bringing things together.
Okay.
Concave, negative.
Good, negative. All right, and then convex radiates out and it's positive.
Yeah.
Yes.
And maybe that's why I don't know which one he's calling obverse and which one he's calling reverse.
No, the obverse is the negative.
Okay, the
It's a
obverse.
drafting. We see things that have been brought together in a structure. That's why structure is always local.
A structure is always local.
Yeah.
A structure.
That's because it's definable, because we can
Okay.
see it. I'm going to write that in there if that's okay with you guys.
Please do.
Yeah.
But
I have a question.
Don't confuse local with small.
Don't confuse local with what?
Small.
I didn't say
well,
small.
I'm thinking micro and macro. That's where I'm getting a little bit confused.
Say again, Joe.
Micro and macro, the difference.
Yeah.
Like micro is local, right?
Not necessarily. Micro
No,
and macro exist locally and
macro is not
universally.
local. Yeah.
Okay.
Micro and macro are just duality. It's just a duality. Remember, we are in between those two. That's what makes our universe finite. Whatever, let's just put it this way. Whatever you push up or out, there will always be an outer.
Okay.
However you push in, there will always be an inner. That is nature of veritas.
I like that.
I like that too.
So we are in between those two things, and we live in a finite universe.
When macro, one can still, there's still an outside.
Yeah.
That's right.
And when micro, there's still an inside. Down. Those are the kind of things we came up with here.
And this is basic because Bucky's definitions are always functional of things that have inness and outness relations.
Okay, now, John, we get to the crux of the freaking matter. Here we go. What does statement B mean? You want to read, John? Let's go
Yes.
for it, my friend.
The sum of the angles around each of the triangle's three vertexes is 120 degrees, of which 60 degrees is on the obverse side of each vertex.
So,
Note,
first of all, we're only talking about an equilateral triangle.
right.
That has got to be clear.
Right.
The next thing that we need to know is that the key word in that sentence is each.
Yes.
Because now we know we're not talking about all three, we're only talking about one. About what? I said the answer.
Each vertex.
That's right, is each.
Vertex.
All right. So pardon me, that shouldn't, okay, good. So here we go. Consider each of the triangle's three vertexes separately. And when we do that, it's obvious then. Do you want to read those, John?
Yes. Obverse A, 60 degrees, plus reverse A, 60 degrees, equals 120 degrees. The same for B and C.
Same for B
Yes.
and C. Solution, 60 degrees in the obverse triangle plus 60 degrees in the reverse triangle equals 120 degrees
120.
at each vertex.
Yes. Exactly. When you consider each vertex, that's the case. Yeah.
Each vertex. This was such a big revelation for me. This took Manu, it took 2 weeks to get through. Okay, good. And so then I just went ahead and started creating some math in case I didn't get it. And I really needed this in order to get it. I had to say to myself, okay, the sum of the angles around one vertex on an obverse triangle is, okay,
60
now I've got it
degrees,
wrong.
yes.
The sum of the angles around one vertex of one triangle is it's 60 plus 60 or 120. Right?
Yes.
The sum of the angles around one vertex. Oh, on the obverse side only.
Only the 60 degrees, yes.
That's right. Then the sum of the angles on each vertex on the obverse side of the triangle is still 60 degrees because it's each vertex, singular.
Yes.
And then the sum of the angles around all vertexes on the obverse side of the triangle is
180.
180.
degrees.
If you
because
go
we're only
3
talking
times,
about the obverse, right?
because you have 3 times 60 degrees, basically, yes.
Right on. Is the same true on each and every vertex on the reverse side of the triangle?
Yes.
Yes.
All right, great. So we have obverse, we've just figured that out, reverse. And now what is the sum of the angles around one vertex of both sides of the triangle?
120.
120,
degrees.
which
And then what is the sum of the angles around all the vertexes of both sides of the triangle?
360, yes.
right.
360. Yes.
I'll tell you, this was not an easy thing for me. Comments and questions?
I am reading here at the original text, and it says externally the sum of the angles around each of the triangle's 3 vertices is 120. I'm not sure what he means with externally.
That's why I brought it up last, Julian. That's exactly why I brought it up last.
Huh.
Now we've got to figure out exactly what the externally means. That was my last boogaboo. This was the last confusing part of this
Okay.
sentence. So you just predicted it. Good for you. This is why I brought it up last. Okay.
Okay. Okay.
So we just read, you just read what it said right there. And here was the conclusion. Externally is not referring to only one side of the to only
Obverse,
one
right.
of the obverse or reverse. Is it? Because he says externally, and then he goes through this big explanation about obverse and reverse, right?
Yes.
So what must externally be referring to?
Externally
Oh.
is what must externally be referring to? Hang on. Externally.
Because I was thinking that you have an internal angle, an external angle of the of each vertex, but that doesn't make sense in this case. Like he's not talking about that.
So I'm going to hold this up and say, externally, I have a triangle.
Mhm.
Externally, I have a triangle.
Yes.
Internally.
Externally, all I'm saying is what?
We can see it.
To me, he must be saying something like, outwardly, just look at a triangle. He could have said, just look at a triangle. But instead he said, externally, we have a triangle with 2 faces, right? So I have deduced that externally simply means outwardly, or just let's take a look at this triangle. What do you guys think? Can it mean anything else? Comments, questions? I could be totally wrong, but Julian, I solved it the easiest way for me. Comments, questions? Okay, then we're going to proceed. So here's that. Now we're going to read the final sentence of 2204 of 22406. Ready, John? And you're back with us. You
Yes.
seem to get the connections perfectly.
Well,
Oh,
my
this is the final sentence.
computer packed up, so I had to go to my iPad and then back again. But anyway,
Yeah.
Bucky, so the sum of the vertexes around a triangle, 3 times 360 degrees equals 1080 degrees. In
The
Bucky's
derivative-
universe,
Yeah.
in Bucky's angular topology, what is the sum of the vertexes around a planar triangle, 360 degrees? What is the sum of all the vertexes around a planar triangle times 360 degrees equals 1080 degrees?
Exactly. Now, I have two questions. I have one question. Why does Bucky take all those vertexes and multiply them by 360 degrees to get to 1080? I don't think I understand that at all. So he says just out of the clear blue sky. So the sum of the vertexes around a triangle, 3 times 360 equals 1080. Why does he multiply the 3 vertexes times 360?
Remember, there is a generalized relationship that is for any structure, for any structural system. The number of vertexes multiplied by 360 equal the sum of all angles inside around the vertexes plus 720. You remember that?
I do remember that now that you say that. I would like to find that exact.
Yeah, that is the application of it. It's just applying
Yeah,
that.
this is in the beginning of angular topology where
Yes.
he's defining that. And he says as a statement that the sum of all the vertexes around any system times 360 degrees equals what?
Equal the angles inside the system. That is how much?
180.
No,
Because
180 times what? That times 2 is 360 plus 720.
Oh, that's right. Okay, that makes sense.
There are two sides: obverse and reverse. Obverse is 180, reverse 180. The two,
The 360.
360 plus 740 is 1080.
for the triangle.
Yes,
But in
320.
general, the sum of all the angles in any system
yes.
times 360 equals what?
No, in general, the number of vertexes in a system times 360 times 360 is the first one here, Steve.
Yo,
Is the first part of, after the y is because the number of vertexes,
oh, it's the number of vertexes?
yes, in any structural system times 360 degrees equals all the sum of all the angles in the system.
Good. And that's the definition.
plus 720 degrees. The sum of all the angles instead plus 720 degrees.
There we go. Wow, Manu, you have this stuff memorized, dude. Good for you. And
Yeah.
so, and because that is given, and I can find where that is in section 224, those are actually words given in the very beginning. And I will find that while we're signing off of this call, and I'll post it there, okay?
Yep.
And now let's consider now he just finishes with the final sentence. And John, if you're able to read that, that would be
I am.
wonderful.
The remainder of 360 degrees from 1080 degrees leaves 720 degrees or one tetrahedron.
Right on.
Quod erat demonstrandum.
That's right. And so if we find those words in angular topology and we stick them in between here, when we put them right here, then it'll be just basically reinforcing a definition that Bucky has already given us, and we can prove the math later. Okay. And then finally, So we note the angles of both faces of the triangle add up to 360 degrees.
Exactly. Yes.
You guys, that's it for our call tonight. We're approaching the bewitching hour and we're about to turn into pumpkins. Julian, how are you feeling tonight and what is your takeaway?
Well, thank you, Steve. Thank you, Steve. You did a wonderful work today, giving us that guide to see, to read, and to going like step by step. I really like that, and I have lots of takeaways. And I wasn't able to realize that a planar triangle can have like an opposite and a reverse. And now that we're talking about that illusionary plane, then Mania steps in and says like this unity is more like a duality in which we can think of what is the object itself, and then what we give that object a functionality. So then having us to say, okay, now you have duality, great, and now we have fourness. Like there's three systems, but there is no duality and reality. I don't know how to call that. Maybe it's because we don't know how, if it doesn't exist, like reality. But we were like, but we are seeing triangles. So I love that play of words, and I think that at the end it is making more sense now after the first time we read it at the beginning of the call. So my takeaways is that taking time to read it, and what Steve said, working with otherness. I love that phrase. Like I'm going to post it on my mug. I don't know, somewhere I'm going to use it because I really like that phrase. So those are my takeaways today. Thank you very much, all of you. So Raffers, how do you feel today, and what is your takeaways? What are your takeaways?
Thank you, Julian. No, actually, it was a great call. Great job, Steve, and Manu as well. I'm supporting Steve. No, what the takeaway is, again, how critical it is to actually get to understanding, stable structures, and that's when you get the degrees, and how the degrees and 180, 260, and how they relate to spheres as well, which we have discussed before, and we didn't get to that point today. But it's great how we can actually relate things to, again, single bonding, which we did actually on our call. And then what he's trying to become is then double bonding, which is when you get a hinge. Yeah, triangles. And then this structure actually will take us to a tetrahedron. And that's, to me, this is three bonds. Correct me if I'm wrong, Manu. And the great thing about this is, well, you think, oh, I solved the problem. And then, surprise, surprise, we get to two tetrahedra, and we get again to single bonding. And then just keeps expanding. So again, this concept of fractals, and to me, it's a great way to understand fractals. When we look at triangles, we add up, all the vertices and how much the vertices and the angles add up to, and everything else. Again, we get a very different view of the universe and how the universe actually works. And I love actually the adaptation that Steve did with those three drawings. The visible, the local tetrahedra, and then the other one which shows all the radiation and all the pulsation, expanding and contracting of the pulse. And then the other ones, with the blurred image and the clear image. I mean, to me, that's a great demonstration of how the universe actually works and how that relates to today's world. The fact that, when we look at, international problems, we realize actually that it's a conflict of ideas or perceptions. Oh, we Russians don't like Ukrainians, or Ukrainians hate us Russians, and whatever have you. You see, and that's just scratching the surface. We understand it's actually what's behind it, and how irrational we can be about our problems and our solutions. And the fact is, actually, I can reduce it to solving the critical problems. See, if we didn't have weapons to fight and kill each other, we wouldn't be in this predicament. So to me, it's not a matter of who's right or who's wrong, whether Putin is a bad guy or, NATO is a bad guy. It's insanity on both sides. And again, people get caught in between. And people, again, we have to repeat it, people fleeing, escaping violence and trying to survive. And we get to me, it's going back to becoming again cavemen, just killing each other. Now we only have, rocks to kill each other. Now we have nuclear weapons. So we are a lot more advanced and civilized. And to me, yes, again, I can relate to all of this. If we understand how we operate, how, a Russian is again another person just like me, the same as anybody from the Ukraine. We can actually, in this group, for example, we can come together and discuss all these things. And we have, Manu in South Africa, and, people in the US, people in South America, Johnny in Perth, the other side of the world. And we can come together and discuss fairly deep and complex stuff. And we can understand that I can relate to everyone on this call. And we need to get to that point of understanding. And it starts by working out who we are, what we're doing in the universe. And we are not here to kill each other. I mean, that's for sure. I mean, that's to me the insanity. But anyway, so to me, it's a great call, and I can relate it to a lot of very different things. But I love the idea we can get again to the minimum and then expand. Again, that zero is actually 360 degrees as well. And then we can expand and grow, and then we can contract. We can go back to the idea that we are betweeners. That means we observe out, and we look at the stars, the sun, the galaxies. Or we can, again, look in and go micro, and then we look at bacteria, viruses, atoms, and beyond. And then we discover things like the Higgs boson, etc. Or quantum mechanics, whatever. But we are sort of caught in the middle. But that's our place in the universe, betweeners. And again, we have a long way to go to reach the understanding that Bucky had. But I guess our job and our role is to show people that there is another way to solve problems, another way to look at the universe, and to look at us, ourselves, in a completely different way. And to me, this idea that we need to kill each other to survive or manage, that to me is absolutely insane. Anyway, so great call, thank you. So Manu, my friend, how do you feel and what's your takeaway?
Well, I feel like I'm arriving with the other crew, so I caught up with a flight, and really I'm grateful. I was like, what is happening? There's no link this morning, and I don't know how Kelly is doing. I don't know if anybody has new, because but anyway, I'm grateful, I'm thankful, and the other side of it is that this kind of is the basis for us to understand how we function, relationship, dualities, structure and bonding, and to allow us to be a little bit less to understand that we are always pulsating, right? You know, one time we are like this, the other time we like that, you know, pulsating in and out. And I think also to really try to kind of build around, how will I call it? I don't call it robustness. I'm just talking about being less emotive, having or be in better control of emotions, to understand the globality and the comprehensiveness of situations. It is very, very easy to go condemning things, whereas maybe a position of more kind of stepping back and observing will help the situation in terms of how we relate and interrelate in order to solve frictions and problems that manifest themselves sometimes very, very dangerously. I think that in the context of what we live in the world today, I think that's where we should strive to be more kind of observing and be measured in the way we react to this event. That's what I take away from today. Joe, how do you feel? What do you take away?
Feeling good after that takeaway. It's, you know, good to have you here, Manu. I felt like I was, you know, we felt like we're swimming in the deep end alone for a little bit. And I'm grateful to Steve as well, all that hard work. Kelly is fine from what I've been my understanding. So he's just working on his swimming lessons, I guess. But other than that, for me, my main takeaway is you know, some basics that I keep coming back to, and I'm trying to just take away a little bit each session. And believe it or not, the idea of the universe being a primordial one was pretty important for me. That was an important takeaway for me this evening. The idea that identity is manifested at the edge, that's really important as far as understanding our connections and our relationships to one another. That's something that we've discussed here quite a bit in the past couple of sessions, and I'm starting to see that more and more as to how this all relates to our reality. I have a better understanding of triangles overall. While these seem like basic advancements, they're very important ones. So those are a couple of my takeaways. But the understanding of edges is going to be very important for me going forward, because I start to understand relationships, and you know, the better I get at that, then the better I'll be able to see connections, and the better I'll be able to understand people in reality as well. So thank you, everyone, and again, thank you, Steve, for all the great work. I mean, the way you've laid that out it's quite remarkable. The way you're doing these things on the fly, really remarkable. I can't tell you how grateful I am for those things, and so I'm looking forward to seeing everybody again soon. Johnny, how do you feel?
Thanks, Joe.
And what would you like to take away from today?
I'm very grateful to be here, and I think everybody else has commented, but Steve, you put a huge amount into it. You make it so much more worthwhile. And I appreciate your leadership and your contributions. I love triangles and now feel a little clearer about the vertexes and why I was having trouble adding up the degrees in the vertexes. It is interesting. I mean, Bucky contributed so much in so many ways. I don't know if any of you have played the world game. As we said, Bucky talked about living re and killing re if it wasn't contributing to a better life for people. And it was killing re, and that's what's going on at the moment, a lot of killing re being used. And I've played the world game a couple of times, which is an interesting experience because out of his work came the world game, which was to give people an experience of what it was like to be interrelated, because we are. What happens in Ukraine affects all of us in one way or another. And so I feel that part of the challenge there is to want to stay informed of what's going on, but not in any way allow it to make me negative or to myself want to kill or to want others to kill. I don't want to see Putin assassinated because that only perpetuates it. And often we justify things. I mean, like the Americans going into Iraq, it was justified, you know. They did so much damage to the country and to the people. They killed Saddam Hussein, but that didn't help the country. It just did further damage to the country. So I don't know where the solution is. I pray that we will have a solution. And I feel that in other ways, apart from a greater understanding of triangles, us just being connected and exploring together is making some small contribution to a better world. So thank you for your positive energy and your knowledge of geometry and your enthusiasm for Bucky's work. And I'm, as I say, grateful that I can be a part of it. So I leave feeling there's hope for the world despite the terrible things we do to one another. So thank you, Steve. Thank you all.
Okay, you want to pass it on to me, just to the formality?
Oh, just for formality. Okay, Steve.
Thank you.
So,
Okay,
Steve,
good.
how do you feel and what do you take away from today?
The rules are good. We got to keep on the edges and keep with those vertexes. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, okay.
You guys are blowing my mind. I got to say, this is the third week for me on triangles. This sheet that we looked at today is the third week, and I still came to the end of the question and said, I don't know what this means, and we're not going to go on with this forever, but I want to show you that the artifact I actually took, like I said, and I added 2404 here, which are the words that that Manu stated about the 360 degrees, the angular unity, and the differential. And then below where it says we subtract and have one tetrahedron left, here are the other words. So as you guys look at the artifact, you can actually see the context for the problem and the solution. And I'm going to have to review it a few more times before I understand it. I'm grateful for each one of you and the input that you gave here today. Manu, or Raffers, and John, you both came to this concept of beingness and compassion for people around and what's going on in Ukraine right now, and atrocities all over the planet that are not seen, that are illusory. I mean, that's the one big lesson from Bucky, is that, hey, no matter how complex it looks, there's something else going on times 360, right? And I'm just grateful for the heart that I hear on this call, that we can do Bucky, which is very mental, but we come down to the heart of it. Manu, I'm grateful for your coaching on all this math and stuff. I would have fallen in a hole a long time ago. And you know, you've said some things tonight that you've said 10 other times on other calls, and I'm going, yeah, okay, that's cool. And tonight, you know, some of it was kind of coming together. I hope people gather this call and really refer to this call, because I think this is going to be a really valuable artifact. I think we have some math we could still prove on, you know, the minus the one tetrahedron, leaving one tetrahedron. I think there's still some conceptual stuff there, but that if I can get there, wow, my mind will be blown. If I can get there without calculus, right? Without the math, just understand the concept, which is what you've been trying to share, Manu, and Raffers and Kelly, and now here we are. And by the way, Manu, Kelly was on the call right at the beginning before it started, and there's floods in Brisbane, and he's just taking care of 7 inches of water, and his hair was all wet. It looked like he'd been swimming. That's what Joe's reference was. So he's fine. So I'm really grateful for this call. Julian, you mentioned the illusory plane, right? And the invitation is just to always think deeper and to think much more comprehensively, not just as what is hidden, but multiples of what is hidden. So that's my invitation. I'm grateful for each one of you. I'm grateful for, Joe, your takeaways. And I'm grateful for alarm clocks, because you used your alarm clock, right, Manu?
Yeah, I mean, I was up, but I didn't have the link. I don't know why I did not receive it.
Did you wake up before your alarm clock?
Yes, a mosquito woke me up.
A mosquito. Well, great. I'm great. I woke up before my alarm clock today too by 3 minutes, but not at 5 o'clock in the morning. All right, brethren. We're gonna, hopefully Susan will be on the call soon. We'll get Ann on the call, and we'll get some of the other feminine energy on the call. See you next week.
Cheers.
Bye-bye.
Good. Take care.
Very
Bye-bye.
cool.
Take care, my friends.
Thank you, everyone.
Stay
Bye-bye.